There are some faces you hope you never see again, faces that remind you of pain, of humiliation, of nights spent crying in your dorm room. For me, that face belonged to a guy named Troy Brennan. He was the king of the campus, rich, popular, and absolutely cruel. He made my life a living hell for 2 years, and I never thought I would see him after graduation. But life has a funny way of bringing people back. For years later, I was sitting in my office at a marketing firm in Orlando, Florida. I had worked hard to get there. I was the youngest team lead in the company. I was proud of myself. Then my assistant knocked on my door and said the next candidate for the interview is here. I looked at the resume and my heart stopped. The name on top said Troy Brennan. The bully who called me names, who spread rumors about me, who made me want to drop out. He was here in my office asking me for a job. Let me take you back to college. I was a shy freshman from a small town in Georgia. I didn't have fancy clothes or rich parents. I was just a girl trying to get an education. Troy was a junior. His family owned a chain of car dealerships in a small Florida town. He had a group of friends who thought they owned the campus, and for some reason he decided I was his target. It started with small things. He would bump into me in the hallway and call me charity case. He laughed when I dropped my books. Then it got worse. He spread a rumor that I cheated on my exams. He told people I was only in college because of a pity scholarship. None of it was true, but people believed him. I lost friends, I stopped going to parties, I ate alone in my room. I reported him to the dean, but nothing happened. His father was a donor and I was nobody. So I just survived. I graduated, moved away to Orlando, and tried to forget. But you never really forget. After college, I promised myself one thing. I would never let anyone make me feel small again. I moved to Orlando and started applying for jobs. I worked 3 part-time jobs while building my portfolio. I woke up at 5 a.m. and went to bed at midnight. After 2 years, I got a job at a growing marketing firm called Summit Creative Group. I started at the bottom answering phones and making coffee, but I worked harder than everyone else. My boss, a woman named Janelle, noticed me and gave me more responsibility. By year 3, I was a team lead managing 5 people. I had my own office with a window overlooking the Orlando skyline. I was making more money than I ever dreamed. I bought a small house with a garden and adopted a rescue dog named Sunny. Life was good. I thought I had left my past behind. I thought Troy was just a memory. Then my assistant handed me that resume, and suddenly I was that scared freshman all over again. I stared at the resume for a full minute. Troy Brennan, age 26, degree in business from the same university in Georgia, work experience at 2 different companies where he had been fired from both. The reasons weren't listed, but I could guess. Troy was never good at actual work. He was good at charming people, at pretending, at taking credit for things he didn't do. But here is the thing. I knew his family was rich once, but money doesn't last forever. I had heard through old college friends that his father's dealerships were failing and that Troy had been cut off. He wasn't looking for a career. He was looking for survival. My hands were shaking. I had 2 choices. I could cancel the interview or I could face him. I took a deep breath and told my assistant to send him in. I wanted to see his face when he recognized me. I wanted to see if he remembered what he did. The door opened and he walked in wearing a cheap suit that didn't fit. He looked older and tired. The confidence was gone. He sat down, looked at me, and his face went white. He knew exactly who I was. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. For the first time in his life, Troy Brennan had nothing to say. I smiled. Not a fake smile, but a real calm professional smile. I said, "Hello Troy, please have a seat." He sat down like a scared child. His hands were sweating, and he kept looking at the door like he wanted to run. I asked him the first question. "Tell me why you left your last job." He stammered and said it wasn't a good fit, cultural differences. I knew that was a lie because I had done my research. He was fired for bullying a coworker. History repeating itself. I asked him another question. What is your biggest weakness? He said, I care too much about my work. I almost laughed. The man who made me cry in the library bathroom thought his biggest weakness was caring too much. I wrote something on my notepad that he couldn't see. Then I asked the question he wasn't expecting. Troy, do you remember me? He looked down at his hands and nodded. He said, yes, I remember. I said, tell me what you remember. And for the first time in 4 years, Troy Brennan had to face what he did. He didn't look at me. He stared at the floor and said, I was awful to you. I was young and stupid and I took my anger out on you. I'm sorry. Sorry. One word after years of pain. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him that sorry doesn't fix anything, that sorry doesn't give me back the nights I cried, that sorry doesn't fix the friendships he destroyed. But I didn't say any of that. I said, Troy, I appreciate your apology, but this is a job interview, not therapy. So let me be clear. I know why you were fired from your last 2 jobs. I know about the complaints. I know about the bullying. He looked up with fear in his eyes. I continued. You are a liability, and I will not recommend you for this position. He started begging. Please, I have a family, I have a daughter, I need this job. A daughter. He had a daughter. I felt a small crack in my heart. But then I remembered. He didn't care about my pain. So why should I care about his? I stood up and walked to the door. I opened it and said, the interview is over, my assistant will show you out. Troy stood up slowly with a red face. He looked broken. He said, you're doing this because of college, that was years ago, haven't you moved on? I looked him in the eyes and said I did move on. I built a life. I became successful. You, on the other hand, are still the same person who hurts others and then asks for forgiveness when you need something. He walked out. I closed the door and leaned against it. My heart was racing. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel powerful. I just felt tired. But I also felt free, because for the first time I wasn't the victim. I was the one in control. My boss Janelle asked me later why I rejected him. I told her the truth. She said I made the right choice. Not because of revenge, but because our company deserved better. A week later, I heard from a friend that Troy had moved back to his small Florida hometown and was working at his father's car dealership. The same job he had in high school. I didn't feel good about it, and I didn't feel bad either. I just felt nothing. And that's when I realized I had truly moved on. Not when I got the job, not when I bought the house, but when I stopped caring about what happened to him. Some people might say I was cruel, that I should have given him a chance. But here's the truth. Troy didn't lose that job because of me. He lost it because of his own actions. He had 2 chances before me, and he wasted both of them. I was just the person who finally said no. And saying no felt like closing a book I had been reading for way too long. A book full of pain and sadness. I was ready for a new chapter. Here is what I learned. Revenge is not about making someone suffer. Revenge is about becoming so successful that their opinion of you no longer matters. Troy bullied me because he was insecure. He was scared that someone like me with nothing but hard work could outshine him. And in the end, I did. Not by destroying him, but by building myself. If you are watching this and someone has hurt you, do not waste your energy trying to hurt them back. Use that energy to grow, to learn, to become undeniable. Because the best revenge is not a word or a punch. It is a life well lived. I am Harper Blake. I am a team lead at a company I love in Orlando, Florida. I have a house, a dog, and a future. And Troy is just a memory. Nothing more. Thank you for listening to my story. If you have ever been bullied, betrayed, or made to feel small, know that you are not alone. Their cruelty says everything about them and nothing about you. Keep working. Keep believing. And one day, the person who hurt you will have to ask you for something. A job, a favor, a second chance. And you will have the power to say no. Not because you are cruel, but because you respect yourself. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear that they are enough. This is Harper. See you in the next story. And remember, your past does not define you. Your choices do.